We are Tahltan because of the caribou, because of the moose, the mountain goat, the salmon, all of these things. People can stay out of the Golden Triangle, no more mining, no more any of this. Because at the end of the day, all the gold in the world doesn't mean anything if we haven't protected Tahltan rights. My father, my uncles, a lot of my elders, they tell me about times when they saw caribou herds with over 1,000, and my generation has never seen something like that. Everybody I've spoken to has said, we have never seen more predators, and we have never seen so few ungulates. We need to do something about this.
There's a lot of predators. I've seen it, and I've seen wolves in packs that stay right around near the caribou. They're waiting for those caribou, those injured caribou. We have to take control, because if we don't, there's going to be nothing left for nobody.
They are going down, and it's got a lot to do with predators, and it's got a lot to do with the winters, right? The last time I was out there, the snow was 5 or 6 feet deep, and the caribou, they come down into the trees, especially around Highland Ranch and those places, and that moss, and the wolves were just picking them off and I think Rudy and them went down the Chesley River, and they found at least half a dozen moose kills. Same thing. When it comes to calving and stuff like that, those animals like the grizzlies and blacks and wolves, they know where the calves are. Because they teach their little ones, right? And then they grow up, guess where they go at that certain time of the year? They go get the caribou calves and moose calves. It's what they do.
You got to be really careful. If you come up on a kill, on a grizzly, well, you got to make sure that you got to be alert.
Up until 2017, grizzly bears were hunted on our territory, removing around an average of 100 every year. And then the grizzly bear hunt was removed, and we don't really know what that's going to mean for our ungulate population. There's no previous research to show what happens when you remove that sort of predator management, and we don't want to sit around and wait to see what happens.
Just like the way she was sounding.
And that's how they always sound, man, on the hunts. Yeah, they just...
It used to make sense for people from outside of the territory to manage predators because there was an economic value on wolf furs. There was the sales of grizzly bear hunts, and now that those reasons are gone, it's left to us. Our territory is so vast and underdeveloped. There's only 3 towns in 95,000 square kilometers. We're never going to be able to reach out to all those bears and wolves, and we don't want to. We want to have a healthy, balanced ecosystem.
What's the big deal? Tahltans still have the ability to harvest grizzly bears. This is our understanding, yada yada. And that's true, but this is where things get frustrating when you're working with government. They say to us, we're gonna continually allow people to come in and hunt ungulates, but we're gonna protect the apex predators. And you as Tahltan, you're the only ones allowed to do the difficult work of stalking grizzlies and managing grizzly populations and dealing with those kills in an ethical way, but you're not allowing us to manage the other pieces. I'm trying to think about creative ways to make sure that we all have more wildlife.
Have some moose too. Does it look done? Oh yeah.
Oh, it's done.
Tahltan people for thousands of years always managed predators. And they managed predators when the ungulate populations were far larger than they are today.
I got bum guts in there too.
I was just telling Dad when Dad saw that bear, he says,
Well, you remember
I
when
think I better go with you.
well, I was there with you when we shot it.
They recognized that sometimes there could be catastrophic seasons and that they wouldn't get any ungulates. And I've heard stories from elders where they had a really tough year and they survived off of porcupine.
We have to manage and control our resource. You know, if we don't, there's going to be nothing left for nobody. So, you know, conservation is very important. We have to control our own people. And we have to control predators, you know, wolf. And hunters. You know, hunters come up here. It's a free range up here. They can shoot any animal they want, you know, as long as they buy a tag and it's open season, you know. But like we've been saying for years, we've got to manage and control our resource. If we don't, there's going to be nothing left for nobody. So.
That grizzly come out other side of the river, and he was determined to come across. Sean had to take a shot, splashed him with water, and he was growling, and he wanted to come across, man, to them.
We were crossing a big swamp. Never seen nothing, and we got in the middle, and then we seen a grizzly coming towards us. We had only a .223 with a 10-shot clip. We sat down him, and we had nowhere to run because we were right in the open.
If that grizzly would have made it to the top of the hill, it would have been a different story, man. Something Something has to be done. With the wolf and grizzly, we have to utilize the land more and get more people out here trapping and hunting. So, keep them down, and it has to be done now, not 5 years from now. We have to start doing it as soon as we can. Otherwise, it's going to be all gone. We're not going to have a place to come and go hunting and teach our children and teach them what we were taught back then, how to hunt and how to skin and look after the meat and to survive. Never track a wounded grizzly. We've been taught to make circles, keep doing circles until you hit their track again, because they'll wait for you. They'll get you if you're not careful. So that's the way I've been taught. We got great respect for the grizzly. We've always did.
Tahltans will eat the meat from a black bear. They utilize the grease from both bears. They make tools from both bears, but especially the grizzly bear. They would use especially grizzly bear parts for ceremonial purposes.
Around the nose and the lips, you have to keep that all out. And then you fill it up with salt, so it dries, But all the pads, all around the pads, you have to cut it out.
You cut the white
knuckles,
part.
you have to take those knuckles out of
You
there.
don't cut the white part. Ears and lips, outrageous one. And then you still got to cut the fat out inside, a little bit of it.
But it's a lot of work. And you got to get between that fat and the outside skin and without cutting through it. And you cut too thin and you can start seeing the hair, where the hair particles are. But if you leave too much on there, then it's not good neither because it'll rot.
Tia Nadu Tanafu Tia This Mona Lina Hoch.
She was quite young when her mother died, and she lived with her two grandmas. They were really old, and she said they fished along the rivers and went all over, and they never ever carried a gun. And she said they could see where spots where a grizzly bear ate fish, or there could be a grizzly bear across the river from them, and it never bothered. Not once. And this is grizzly country, especially in the fall.
It's amazing. And the story about Kodaka, who is our great grandfather, It's here in Chesley, someplace down by the Chesley River when they were fishing, and he was down there. I guess a bear came along and went after him. I don't know who else was with him. And he didn't have any weapons, he didn't have anything. All he could think to do was to grab a bunch of sand in his hand. And when that bear opened his mouth, he threw that sand in his mouth. And I guess he choked. And he killed the bear with sand. You know. He's a very spiritual person, but then a lot of our people were very spiritual people those days, you know. Who we are, we're after animals. There were certain animals who were our spirit guides. You know, Kodaka, his spirit guide was porcupine.
Grizzly bears, it could be a touchy subject. The grizzly bears and humans are more alike than almost any other animal. They eat all the same berries, they eat all the same fish, they eat all the same meat. The only thing that they could do that we can't is like scavenge meat, and so that we look at them in a way that we have to compete against them. They're bigger, stronger. We see them as competitors. There is going to be like an aggressive or vulnerable state for them, and so when we meet them in, let's say, berry picking, or we're out hunting, we might run into like an aggressive bear that's starving now because he had to leave his, let's say, home part of the territory because there's not enough food. Having people out on the land, it could be more scary, more dangerous for local members. That's why we start playing a role. We're starting to implement predator management so that we can be proactive. And that's a traditional practice that we've done forever also.
Our Tahltan ancestors governed over our territory and made sure we had abundant and sustainable wildlife populations for thousands of years. Today we have a provincial government who for generations has not put adequate efforts and resources to manage wildlife populations properly. The Tahltan people won't tolerate this any longer. We need to work together to create a healthy balance and ensure our wildlife is sustainable for future generations. We all want this, but we need to do better, and we need to do it now. For the Tahltan people, the relationship we have with our territory and the wildlife is sacred. It's about food security, health, safety, and maintaining our culture and who we are as Tahltan people. We have no choice, and we will begin taking these matters into our own hands and doing everything necessary to create the changes that we need on the landscape.